Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation, right here on Verde Valley TV and KVNA 104.7 FM. I'm your host, Philip Catafamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Minnesota MASH pitching coach and former Mingus Union Marauder Tony Vocca, who will break down his transition from playing to coaching. We'll then be joined by Cottonwood Clippers Swim Team head coach Gretchen Wesbrock, who will talk about the growth of competitive swimming in the Verde Valley. But on the other side of this break, we'll be joined by Payson High School golf coach Miguel Galindo, who will discuss the success of his first full season coaching the Longhorns. All of that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Off the Bench. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports. I am joined now by Payson High School golf coach Miguel Galindo. Coach Galindo, welcome onto the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. First and foremost, congratulations on completing the spring season. I know last year, which was technically your first year as the head coach of the golf program at Payson, was cut short due to COVID. But this year, able to get the season underway. You had a goal of getting a top 10 finish in state this year, and you accomplished that goal. The Longhorns finished the season with a 9th place finish at the Division III state golf tournament earlier this month. Coach, this is the highest placing the team has had since 2015 when they placed 6th. I mean, technically it was your first year. So, I mean, what does it feel like to accomplish something like that straight out the gate?
Yeah, you know what? That was pretty awesome. I knew coming into this golf season that I was going to have a decent team. I just didn't expect them to step up the way they did and pull off a top 10 finish kind of thing. So that was pretty cool. Pretty cool that it happened that way.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, like I said, you set out, you had that goal, and you accomplished it, and now we can't wait to see what you guys do next season. But, of course, speaking more here in the present term, Coach, during the state tournament, I'm curious how involved the golf coach is during the golf tournament. Obviously, with baseball and softball or even basketball, you're a little bit more hands-on, whereas golf, of course, is more individualistic. So do you, during the state tournament, I mean, where are you? Are you kind of just watching from the sidelines? Are you playing caddy almost? Are you able to follow the guys at all? Where are you at, and what are you doing during the state championship to help your guys out?
Yeah, during the state championship, I am allowed to. We get a cart, and we're allowed to drive around and check up on our boys and follow them around throughout the course. And throughout the season, we're allowed to, talk with them and see how they're doing, see how they're feeling. Maybe even talk a little bit of some shot process of for the next hole and stuff like that. So we're allowed to do those things. We're not allowed to tell them how to read the greens.
Okay.
So that's one big rule that's always been throughout the whole season. You can't help them with that. But everything else is pretty solid. Now, what a big change for the AIA state golf tournament was during the season, we can help them with if they need some rules, ruling official, some official ruling for their golf shot or whatever. And for the state tournament, they had AIA elected rules officials to do that. So we didn't have to do that part either. So we just really got to focus on our kids and make sure everything was, calm them down if they needed to be calmed down, or hype them up when they needed to be hyped up. And yeah.
Well, it culminated, like I mentioned, a 9th place finish in Division III state golf tournament. I believe it was down in Tucson. Yep. Coach, just kind of clarify for me, I'm not a an aficionado when it comes to golf. The closest thing I get is wearing polos for the shirt. So, for the show. I'm curious, you say read the green. What do you mean by that?
So when they get ready to hit their shot on the green. Sorry, my earphones keep popping out on me. I don't know why. But what they get to do is they have to read on how the putt's going to go. When they hit their ball, what's the ball going to do as it drifts towards the hole? Okay. Is it going to break right? Is it going to break left? Is it a straight shot? Little things like that. And that's the part that we're not allowed to help with at all throughout the season. And same thing with the state tournament. So that's their job to read the green and read the putt and try to make the best stroke they can to make it in the hole in one shot.
Just before we break a little bit more into the tournament, Coach, a question just kind of popped in my head too. Course conditions. Do you get an opportunity to sort of get an idea as to what the course conditions might be, whether that is during state or even during the regular season? Do you guys get a chance to sort of check that out before you get a chance to go out there and actually swing some clubs?
Yes and no. So we get to – like for this year, for our preparation for state we got down there about a day early and kind of hung out for the day out there. We found a local golf course because they shut down the official course for about a couple days so nobody touches it and it's in the best condition as it can be. And so we get down there and we just kind of feel what the altitude does to the ball, especially, and how it feels striking the ball in the middle of the day in the valley or down in Tucson compared to up here. It definitely makes a difference. So we really just focus on, when we get down to certain tournaments, simple hitting drills of what's the ball doing? Is it affecting my shot distance? Is the flight different? Little things like that'll affect your golf shot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you would assume the altitude change from going from here in northern Arizona, moving more towards the valley, and then going into southern Arizona like Tucson. Like you said, just the elevation change could definitely change the flight pattern of the ball. And if you're at a course in a certain particular area, it might affect things. But Coach, now talking more specifically about the state tournament, you had some great standouts, and we'll talk about all of them. First and foremost, sophomore Joey, you might have to help me with the name here, but Joey Calliel is a sophomore. He played great. Senior Colton Justice also played well. They both tied for 36 to lead the team when it came down to the end of it. But Coach, Colton comes in as your senior, your lone senior on the roster. Being this is your technical first year, how important was that senior leadership early on when you got some guys who are entering their first year as playing high school golf for the first time? I mean, how important was it to have Colton on the team?
It was very important. We had our banquet last night, and I expressed throughout the entire night how important that was for him. He had some very big shoes to step into, being the senior leader, being the one with the most experience, knowing a lot of these courses up here, and experiencing state, as a sophomore. He didn't get to do it for his junior year because we were shut down. Right. But that was the last time he was there for his sophomore year. So constantly throughout the year, he was giving advice to all of our golfers, on this course, certain holes, this is what happens. And on this course, and then when we were coming down to state, that's all he talked about the whole way down was, we're going to be playing this part of the course, and you got to watch out for the desert part, and you got to watch out for this. And, when I played it, and he gives some little experiences, when I played it, this is what happened to me. And I think it was very valuable. And I think it really helped our kids because they soaked it all up. They listened to him. The whole year. So they just, I think that's what helped out a lot with our success too, was his leadership and his experiences.
Some other guys who also placed during the state championship earlier this month, sophomore Levi Stonebrink tied for 47th. Sophomore Joseph Lamori tied for 49th to round out the scoring for the team at state. Mm-hmm. Coach, who else kind of showed up this year, just in general? Any guys who really made some good advancements going into the state or just, throughout the season? Any guys who really improved well?
Yeah, our number 5 golfer, Will Hubbard. He was our consistent number 5 guy because you have 5 guys as a varsity team, top 4 scores count as the record, as the team score. And so being the number 5 guy is kind of difficult because many times maybe your score is not going to count. But what I like about Will was he stayed the course. He kept playing, kept improving. He was wound up being our most improved golfer this year for varsity. We actually used his score a couple times throughout the season because he played better than somebody else. And so that's the one I would say, even though he's not quite standout on the scoring on the state level, he just was our great number 5 guy, like our, like basketball, their man off the bench kind of thing.
You're sick. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So he'd be my standout as well. That performed well. Maybe not in terms of scoring, but just learning how to hit the ball, because he was supposed to play his freshman year last year. Last year would have been his freshman year, but he had a season-ending injury in the fall that affected him and couldn't do anything last year. So he didn't really be a part of the team last year, the short season that we had. So he came in this year pretty raw, pretty rough around the edges, and we just been polishing him up since.
Again, we were speaking with Payson High School golf coach Miguel Galindo. Coach Galindo and the Longhorns finished 9th at the Division III State Golf Tournament in Tucson earlier this month. Coach, looking forward to next season. Obviously, you're not going to have Colton because he's graduating. He's the only senior on your roster. You bring back a lot of the guys, everybody that we mentioned, Joseph Calliel, Levi Stonebrink, Hubbard, as you mentioned. A lot of those guys will be coming back next season. Anybody at the JV level, any incoming guys that you're excited about who are going to be up at the varsity level next year? Yeah,
I mean, my entire JV squad, they all have potential to battle for that 4th or 5th spot on varsity. There was one clear leader this year on the JV level who was our MVP for our season. One of our girls, actually, Riley Adolph. Okay. She was the one that was consistent. As a matter of fact, she beat a couple of our varsity boys a couple times throughout the season. And so I could see her being, plugging in up there on the top 5. And so it's definitely a great problem to have, that you're going to have a lot of people battling for top 5 spots.
Which is a good thing for you, because you replace talent with talent, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So, Coach, now the season's over. I mean, what's the plan for the off season as a golf coach? I know you yourself are probably going to go out to the links every now and then and hit a couple balls, but in terms of for your players getting ready for next season, I know we're kind of a long way away from the start of the next season, but I mean, what is the emphasis during the off season? Is it to just go out and go out to the driveway or just hit a bunch of balls, practice on your putts? Do guys participate in summer tournaments? What does the off season look like for a golf coach and his program?
Well, yeah. So since we got a long ways to our next season, it's usually about a couple of days a week that we would like to try to get together over the summer at our local courses here, and just work on ball striking and stuff like that. So for that part, we also introduced some of the new players, like the brand new kids that want to learn the game of golf, the incoming freshmen. That's where we get them a lot. So we could take our time and break it down and just get them to hit the ball right. When it comes to my varsity guys and my veteran guys, I would like for them to be out there with us every so often. But I know I got 3 out of those 4 returning guys. They all work at the home golf course that we got. So they got a ton of free golf over there that they get to do, and a couple of private lessons with the head pro over there would help out a lot for them. And then I know of a couple of my guys that are wanting to do some summer tournaments with the Junior Golf Association, the JGAA. So they'll be doing that a little bit, and trying to get involved with there. So, and that's something new that I need to be learning for this coming year too, because last year we were still in the middle of COVID. So all those tournaments, all those opportunities were shut down. Right. So I never got any word much of anything. So this year, we're working on getting up some good opportunities, and then just practicing, working on what worked during our season, and then let's evolve and get better for our next season on our ball striking.
Coach, you talk about some of those incoming freshmen, and obviously you mentioned you've got some kids on the JV team that are making their way up to the varsity team, which means that you'll be getting new freshmen who will be on the JV team. Where are these guys, where their strengths and weaknesses lie? Are you noticing that kids coming in are very good at driving the ball, but have a tough time with their short game, or vice versa? Their short game's great, but their long ball is really tough. So where do some of those younger golfers struggle when you first get them in?
Yeah. So for the brand new golfers, obviously just holding a club for the first time, they're going to struggle with everything. And, our process is working from green to tee. So a lot of short game stuff, a lot of putting, a lot of chipping, a lot of around the green work, evolve into the pitching side under 100 yards, and then move on into the big irons and the drivers. So we got a step-by-step process where we don't just give them clubs and say, all right, swing away. It's more of a breakdown of, okay, we need to focus on how to putt the ball first before we learn how to hit a driver. And so we'll get there. And that's what the summer will be used for, and into our preseason stuff of working on those with any brand new golfers that want to come out. And, and some kids have moved in and they have some bit of a skill or talent. Maybe they've been playing with their grandpa for a few years. Now we just got to take what they got and tweak it a little bit, make them hit a little better. In golf is one of those games where people struggle with all different aspects of the game. I could have a terrific putter, but then he can't hit a 5-iron to save his life, or vice versa. I could have a guy that could drive it 300 yards, but can't knock it on the green under 50, And so, you got to assess every golfer and what their skills are versus their weaknesses and what they struggle with, and go from there.
Maybe I should start taking some notes from you, Coach, because I'm terrible at golf. I've got a baseball swing when it comes to golf. My shoulder flies out. I'm pulling the ball. If you want to lose some golf balls, we'll go out and shoot some balls. But other than that, I've got no short game, no drive. Like I said, the polo during the show is the closest I get to the sport of golf. But maybe slowing it down and working on putts a little bit more will help to get me a bit more familiar. But I got one last question for you, Coach Galindo, before we send off. You came to Payson from the Valley. You initially started as the JV freshman football coach. And for those of you who are listening on radio, go check it out on youtube.com because you can see Coach Galindo looks like a football coach. He's a big guy. So I want to ask, Coach, where does that passion for golf come in? And how did that first initial start as the JV and freshman football coach kind of prepare you to take over the golf program?
Yeah, so my number one sport since high school has been golf. Okay. Even though I'm a bigger guy and stuff like that, golf's been my number one passion. I played it all throughout high school. And even though I didn't get on to college anywhere, golf's one of those sports that, you can play until you're 90 years old kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's one of those type of sports that, I couldn't continue football, didn't continue any wrestling, but I did got to continue golf. And so golf's always been a passion since my summer of my eighth grade, before my freshman year. Ever since I hit that first ball 100 yards in the air, I was hooked. And so that's always been a secret passion of mine. I've always wanted to coach a golf team, never quite got the opportunity down in the Valley. And when I moved up here, but I did coach football throughout all these times. So the year before I moved up here, I got a head coaching freshman job for football, which gave me some kind of head coaching knowledge on how to overall watch the kids, run a bit of a program, run some practices, put some things together, put a game together kind of thing. And then coming up here, picking up the freshman JV football coaching job, having that previous football head coaching experience kind of thing. Just a little bit bigger role with the JV side and, got more responsibilities out of it. And I think that's what helps out a lot. And then jumping into now varsity golf. Obviously, it's different rules and different policies, but some of the basic principles are still there of head coaching. You know what I mean? Right. And so head coaching overall in general, you could put some things together. I could treat it like a football program, but not exactly, and vice versa. Some of the things I've learned now here in golf, I'm going to apply to football. Some of the techniques of coaching techniques, some things to say, little things like that helped out a lot.
Payson golf coach, Miguel Galindo. Coach, like I mentioned, congratulations on finishing the year. Congratulations on the top 10 finish at the state tournament. We look forward to seeing the Longhorns back out on the links a little bit later in the year in 2022. But here in 2021, congratulations, Coach. I wish you nothing but the best going forward, and we look forward to talking with you again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Anytime. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by former Mingus Marauder baseball and football player Tony Vocca. Stay with us here on Off the Bench. We'll be right back.
two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench. I'm Philip Catafamo, and I am joined by a former Mingus Marauder and current head pitching coach for the Minnesota Mash, Tony Vocca. Tony, welcome on to the program.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we're happy to have you, Tony. You accomplished a lot with your career at Mingus Union High School and outside of Mingus Union High School. And now you're a part of the Minnesota Mash, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the interview. But starting off, for those of you who are not familiar with Tony Vocca, he played all 4 years at Mingus Union High School. He was a baseball player as well as a football player, quarterback for the football team, pitcher and outfielder for the baseball team. Tony was a part of a lot of what I like to call kind of a very, very big time in Mingus sports, a very sort of golden age Renaissance era of the Mingus Marauders. A lot of success when Tony was at Mingus Union High School. But Tony, we're going to start with football. Of course, as I mentioned, you played quarterback for the Mingus Marauders. You were playing under Coach Bob Young. Obviously, we know that Coach Young loves to have his quarterbacks run, so you did a lot of running as the quarterback there. But finished with over 2,600 passing yards, 34 passing touchdowns, 27 rushing touchdowns as the quarterback. Started out your junior year playing at the varsity level, and started playing quarterback as well at that same time. So Tony, my rambling needs to stop, man. How did you enjoy that time playing with Mingus?
I mean, it was awesome, man. You grow up in Cottonwood, you learn that the town revolves around Mingus football.
Yeah.
Coach Young did a great job of is making sure that all of us players get out into the community and do stuff to, keep that tradition going. But on the field, I mean, it was awesome. I enjoyed every day we were out there practicing. Both my older brothers played for Coach Young as well, Mingus football all 4 years. My oldest brother was a part of the state championship team in '97. So I think, I was about 6 years old when that happened. So me just getting to experience that, watching him play in Sun Devil Stadium where they beat Sabino, that was obviously one of the cooler things I've seen, especially my older brother, actually winning the only state championship for Mingus. And then that kind of led into my middle brother, who they made a run. They upset Sabino as well in the first round of their playoffs, and then lost to Sunnyside in the second round. So it's kind of, just me being able to remember all of that, all 4 of their years, just shows you how much Mingus football really meant to me, and what it still means to me till this day. So, I mean, it's built relationships that I've kept, till this day with all my buddies back home. So it's obviously something that I'll never forget, and obviously very, very, very happy that I did that.
Let's talk a little bit more about that time with you playing for the Mingus Marauders during football season. I'm paired up with Nick Yatsenko, who I believe played with you on the football team as well. You guys went to school at the same time. And Nick, I got a chance to go over to his house, and his mom and dad broke out all the Mingus stuff, and they were showing me all the photos of the community. And of course, if for those of you who don't know the Yatsenkos, they used to own a business here in the area. And anyway, so my point is the whole town seemed like it would shut down for a football game. So I kind of want to just talk a little bit more about the community's involvement. You talk about how much this community loves their high school sports. I mean, you were dead in the middle of it during football season and baseball season. What was it like to just be in the area during that time and see just the town love you guys, no matter how good or bad you were doing?
I mean, it was awesome. You kind of see that happening in a lot of movies that are about high school football, like the southern states where they have a football team and the whole town shuts down. That's actually what it was like when I was playing there all 4 years. My freshman year, I was playing JV, but we traveled with varsity everywhere. So we went to the state championship game that year as well. We lost to Palo Verde down in Tucson. But I mean, like that game, and then the game my junior year where we were in the state championship game, I mean, the town completely shut down. I mean, it was crazy. And that goes with that small town atmosphere, and that's what tried to tell all these kids out here, especially, you know, living in the bigger cities, that the small town atmosphere was one of the coolest parts of the entire thing. Was that, you know, on the way you're driving to the field or you're driving to school in the morning, and, you know, there's signs on the side of the road saying, good luck, you know, good luck, Tony, good luck, Mingus. So like, that's the stuff that you'll really miss, you know, after you're done playing. Cause it was just, you don't get that in a lot of places, especially the bigger cities. So that small town feel of, you know, the whole town shutting down pretty much while you're playing football was probably the coolest thing. Cause you almost feel like you're a professional athlete at that point. And, you know, you're anywhere from 14 to 18 years old. So it was a very, very cool feeling. And it just made the experience for playing for Mingus that much better. And obviously it made us want to win more for the town so that they have something to cheer for. And then we can bring something home for them.
Tony was also a pitcher, as I mentioned, and also played some outfield as well for the Mingus Marauders when he played baseball for the high school. Finished his pitching career with a 2.63 ERA, 39 wins, so close to 40, Tony, 413 strikeouts, and also helped lead the Marauders to 2 state titles, one with Coach Young and one with a different coach in 2008 and 2009, correct? Or 2007, 2008?
2008 was Coach Greg Bushman, and 2009 was Coach Young.
Okay. So anyway, I mean, Tony, first and foremost, I mean, 2 state titles. A lot of guys don't even get an opportunity to even go to the title game. I was one of them. I only played baseball until my sophomore year, so I didn't get a chance to go play for the varsity level and try to compete for a state title, but you were able to accomplish 2. I know that would probably be one of the memories that stands out for you playing baseball. But I want to kind of ask you, first and foremost, what it was like to be a part of a championship team. And when you're out on the mound, I mean, what was your approach to that position?
I think, you know, the 2008 one was kind of mind blowing, honestly, because at one point, I think we were a game over 500.
Wow.
And we just got hot at the right time. You know, we won our last couple of regular season games and then won the conference tournament. And then, you know, we kind of just had the hot hand going into the state tournament. And, you know, we were going against we ended up playing the number 1 seed Notre Dame, who we played both years, actually. They had all these Division I guys. They were nationally ranked both years. And we kind of just, my junior year, we just pretty much said, you know what, like, we're here, you know, like, they're the same age as us. Nothing's different. It doesn't really matter. Just literally play our game. We'll, you know, let's see what happens pretty much. So, I mean, we ended up winning that game. I think it was 4-1. So, Trevor Sanderlin pitched that game, the first one, and then he just obviously dominated. But then the second one, after we won it, we still kind of the entire season were counted out by all the all the Phoenix reporters and all that stuff. They kind of were just like, you know, okay, that was just a fluke. But us, we wanted to win it. We were expected to win it within us, and I think that's what kind of drove us to pretty much dominate that entire season from start to finish. I mean, we started out hot, and then we finished even hotter. Really, it was a cool experience going down there and playing Notre Dame as well. Obviously, they beat us those 2 years in football as well, and knocked us out of the playoffs in the state championship game. So
revenge there too, huh?
Yeah, that's exactly what we were saying. It was more revenge, and then especially the second year with Coach Young, obviously him coaching me in football too, that kind of made it a little sweeter. But it was the second one was probably the most intense game I've ever pitched. I was just literally got on the mound, and this is how I was all year. Every time I took the mound, it was just, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to throw in, I'm going to do whatever I can to get you out. I'm going to, just scratch and claw, to just do whatever I can to help my team win. And, I was pretty much just, I hated losing more than anything, and I still do. I just can't stand it. It's, it wears on me for 24 hours. So even when I'm coaching now too. So it's kind of, it was just, Coach Young trusted me. Coach Bushman trusted me. And that obviously helped me, mentally to know that my coaches said, hey, here's the game ball. You're going to go for as long as you can. Yeah. And I kind of took that, and then I just ran with it. I was like, I'm not going to put the coaches in a situation to give anyone the ball. I said, it's my ball. And I said, and I'm going to throw the first pitch, and I'm going to throw the last pitch. Yeah. So it was a cool feeling. The second one was kind of cool. I mean, they're both obviously awesome. But I think the second one has a little, it's me and Coach Young been through a lot together all 4 years. I was, in there lifting weights with him when I was like in 7th grade. So me and him are obviously extremely close till this day. So that one was pretty magical for me. Just, being able to hold that state championship trophy up with Coach Young.
Kind of skipping ahead just a little bit here before I get into a couple more of the technical questions. You were inducted into the Hall of Fame last year. There was supposed to be a big ceremony, but unfortunately, because the pandemic came around at the time it did, we weren't able to do kind of like a big thing for Tony Vocca. But Tony was inducted alongside Coach Young, and you talk about building that relationship with Coach Young since you were in 7th grade. You're still friends now. I mean, to obviously get the call to say, hey, Tony, we're going to put you into the Hall of Fame for Mingus Union High School, the program that you were with all 4 years. You played varsity all 4 years. You won 2 state titles with the program. But to go in alongside a guy who has meant so much to you and has been such a big inspiration, a big motivator, a really big just part of your life. I mean, what did it feel like not only to get in to the Hall of Fame for the program you had played with, but to go in with Coach Young as well?
I mean, both were extremely, extremely cool. I mean, it was, when I was told I was going in, I was kind of like taken back. I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
So like called my parents and told them, I said, yeah, I'm getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I was like, the thing that makes it even better is that Coach Young's going in with me, and like I said earlier, me and him, we went through a lot together, obviously a bunch of ups and downs, him screaming at me every now and then, which was good, was what I needed. But he's a special person in my life. And obviously without him, I can seriously say, I don't know if I would be where I'm at today because of him, just because of the work ethic he instilled in me and just the toughness that I got from him. And even when he was, getting on my case when I was in high school playing for him, I knew he meant it out of pure love. So, I mean, he's a guy that I can always go to if I'm having problems, and, not just athletics, but, if something takes a wrong turn in, my personal life, I know I can always count on him to just give him a call, and, he'll be available for me. And, obviously for that, I'll always be thankful for him for everything he did for me, and not only me, but my family as well. I mean, he coached both my older brothers. So he kind of knew, how we were, I guess. All 3 of us are very similar. So he's not only a special person for me, but my entire family as well.
Got to be a little weird seeing Bob wearing all that Bradshaw Mountain stuff now, right?
Yeah, I tuned into I watched the game where they played Bradshaw at Mingus and the baseball game. And it was a little weird for me seeing him on the other side. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's got to do what's best for him and his family. And, I fully respect him. So, but yes, it was pretty weird.
I bet. Tony, after you played at Mingus Union High School, you went over to Yavapai College, where you helped lead the Rough Riders to a championship as well, a ACCAC championship in 2010. You then played a season with the University of Utah before finishing your collegiate career with the Minnesota State Mankato, which I might be pronouncing wrong, in 2013. But you also played on the Frontier League, I should say the Northwood League, with the EAU Clare Express, and you tossed a no-hitter during that time as well. First off, again, another experience. What is it like to throw a no-hitter and be a part of something so historic?
It was pretty cool. I mean, it was my last start of the summer, before I had to go back to school. So it was kind of like, just pretty much left it all out there. I threw a no-hitter in high school, but it was a 5-inning no-hitter, like run rule game. So, I mean, but to go the actual distance in college and throw the no-hitter was, that was something I've never experienced before, going that deep into a game, throwing a no-hitter. But especially against guys going to, big time school, like SEC schools and stuff like that. So when I was just in junior college, so that was pretty crazy. I mean, it was just one of those days where I literally had everything going, and, everything was right. Everything was timed up perfectly. But that was obviously one of the cooler experiences as well in my baseball career.
Tony, throughout your, for those of you who are just joining us, we're talking with former Mingus Marauder football and baseball player Tony Vocca. Tony is currently the head pitching coach for the Minnesota MASH. We're talking about Tony's after high school career here on the show. And as I mentioned, Tony threw a no-hitter for the Northwoods League, which is a collegiate baseball league that a lot of college guys will play in the summertime. He threw the second no-hitter in that organization's history. I just wanted to clarify that. But Tony, I want to ask you, you're a two-way player throughout your entire playing career at Mingus Union and also in college. Obviously in high school, you're going to get a lot of kids who pitch and play different positions. It happens all the time. Same thing with football. You get a kid who plays on the offense and also on the defense. But we're noticing and seeing a bit more of a trend upward towards two-way players, especially with the emergence of Shohei Ohtani for the Los Angeles Angels, a guy who pitches and also plays the outfield. We have seen two-way players before, and of course, position players in the MLB have pitched before. But for you being a two-way player, how have you seen that become in itself a position as opposed to a sort of, like I mentioned, it happens a lot in high school, it happens a lot in Little League, but it's becoming more and more prominent in college and in baseball where these guys are going into the draft as a pitcher and position player. So I just kind of want to ask you, as a two-way player, how have you seen that become more and more prevalent in baseball?
It's actually, especially what Ohtani's doing for the Angels. That's like, he pretty much, you haven't seen that since Babe Ruth, which none of us really saw. So the fact that he's able to do that is pretty crazy. He throws 100 miles an hour and he, hits 450-foot home runs. He's just a rare breed. Yeah. But I think it's cool. It's cool to see, because it's not, especially in high school. I tell all my high school players, I go, you guys need to hit and pitch, do everything for as long as you can. I go, because once you get to college, like if you're not great at both of those, they'll take one of them away for you. And then they'll pretty much pick and choose what you're going to do there. So the fact that it's starting to happen more and more, I think is awesome. It just goes to show you that, especially these days too, where all the technology and everything that's out there for baseball is it's helping everybody. And it's growing the game and it's making it more exciting, really. Because, you hear all the time about how baseball it's a slow sport, it's boring. But when you see guys like Ohtani doing that kind of stuff, it's hard not to watch. But I do think it's extremely cool to see it happening more and more, and it's making the game more exciting.
So any little leaguers or kids who are playing high school ball right now, you just heard it from Tony Vocca. If you want to have some longevity in college sports, learn how to pitch and also play a position. And I couldn't agree more. I think it definitely limits you if you're only good at one thing or if you're only more specified in just one thing. But we're getting back to Tony's playing career here. After playing college, Tony spent some time in the Australian Baseball League and also in the Frontier League before landing his current position after he hung up the cleats with the Minnesota MASH as the head pitching coach. Tony, what took you from small town Cottonwood to Minnesota to go help with the MASH?
So pretty much, I came out here. I had a buddy who was with the Milwaukee Brewers at the time, and he was out here working at MASH back in 2016. So I just reached out to him. I said, "Hey, do you care if I come out there and train with you for a couple months before I go to Florence?" So went out there and just pretty much trained and did some pitching classes here and there. Just to pretty much, try to make some money while I was out here. And I became close with both the owners of the facility. So, and they told me right away, once I was done playing, to give them a call and, they'll kind of hook me up with a job. So, that's pretty much what I did after I was done playing in 2017 in Florence. I reached out to them. I said, "Hey, I'm done playing." I was like, "Is that job opportunity still open?" And they said, "Yep." They said, "Absolutely." So I literally just packed my bags, and I think 2 days later, I just, drove through the night and landed over here in Minnesota working for MASH.
And that's where Tony is currently. And Tony, we got one last question for you here. Like I mentioned, currently the pitching coach for the Minnesota MASH. You had such a long playing career in high school and in college, and as well even after college, getting an opportunity, like I mentioned, to play in the Australian League and also for the Frontier League to try to maybe get a shot at playing on a big league club. Obviously, unfortunately, that didn't work out. But you and I have found ways to stay close to sports. I stopped playing sports after my sophomore year. I stopped making teams. I just wasn't good enough. But I found a way to stay close to sports and utilize a different talent I had, which was my voice, which was going and doing play-by-play. You had a little bit more of an illustrious career when it comes to baseball and football, but you were able to stay true to, or he was able to stay playing sports and being around baseball, and now coaching that next generation of kids who are going to be going to their small town cities and hoping to get on the college team or get onto the junior college team, whatever it may be. So for anybody, Tony, before we let you go, anybody who is in that period right now where they're going, look, I'm trying to get tryouts, it's not working out for me right now. I want to ask you, what can you say to those guys who are looking for that next step to stay close to sports, but it's probably not going to be on the field?
I mean, it's obviously it was a pretty tough transition for me. I'm not going to lie, going from playing to coaching right away, and it's because obviously you want, if it was up to you, you would play your entire life. You know what I'm saying? So kind of it's tough when you have to try to make that transition from playing right into coaching, because you just, oh man, my body feels great, I can still play. But then, there's a bunch of other little factors that play into it that make you go, okay, I have to stop playing. And that's what happened to me. But I mean, it's kind of like, it goes back to when I was playing, just one of the best compliments I've ever gotten wasn't how good I was at baseball or football. It was, how good of a teammate I was. And I think, we tell all the kids here all the time, we don't care if you're a good baseball player, like if you go play college baseball, that's awesome, we're going to support you. But if you don't, that's awesome, we're still going to support you. So it's kind of goes into the fact that I always tell my kids, baseball ends for everybody someday. I go, but if being a good person and being a good teammate doesn't need to end. I go, so if you're good at that, that'll set you up for success in the future, and it'll land you a job that you want. Right. So, I mean, I met the two owners, Steve McGuigan and Tom Buski, here at MASH about 5 years ago, and they thought highly of me, and we kept in contact. And then, and then now I'm here working full time for them. So I always tell the kids, if you're a good teammate and a good person, everything will work out for you in the long run. And it's, and I truly do believe those words.
Head pitching coach for the Minnesota MASH, Tony Vocca, thank you very much for taking the time to talk about your time playing with the Mingus Marauders for baseball and football. You're doing some great things with the Minnesota MASH, Tony, and it's so nice to get a chance to sit down and talk with you. Best of luck going forward, and we look forward to touching base a little bit closer in the future. All
right, awesome, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will be joined by current Mingus Union swim and dive coach, Gretchen Wesbrock. She is currently coaching the Cottonwood Clippers, which is a youth swim program here in Northern Arizona. So we'll talk to Gretchen Wesbrock on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Off the Bench. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench. I am joined now by the Cottonwood Clippers Swim Team head coach, Gretchen Wesbrock. You may also recognize her as the swim and dive coach for Mingus Union High School, but we are talking about the Cottonwood Clippers, which is a club swim team in the Verde Valley. Gretchen, thank you for coming back on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, we're very much happy to have you. And I think the first question we should start off with is, who are the Cottonwood Clippers? If you could just kind of give us a brief overrun of what the club team does, and then we'll go into your involvement after that. Actually, if you want to just finish it with your involvement, that's fine too.
Sure, sounds good. So Cottonwood Clippers is a recreational swim club that runs during the summer months. It was established in 1981, so it's been a part of this community for a very long time. And we have swimmers ranging in age from 5 years old to 18 years old. And really, the goal is to get young and older swimmers excited about the sport of swim, and starting to learn to be competitive in that sport. So I started with the Clippers. Actually, this is my 6th season with the Cottonwood Clippers. Myself and my husband, John, have been with the Clippers since our girl was 5 years old, and she's 10 now. And so, yeah, we started then, and that was actually right. I think I just finished my first season with Mingus. So I was really excited to get involved with the Clippers and get to start coaching some of the younger swimmers and get to be a part of their life, maybe even through a high school season.
Yeah, I know a lot of people kind of see a club team and they go, oh, well, this probably more than likely feeds right into the high school. I mean, in a way it does. You have had swimmers who have gone not only through the Clippers program, but have also gone through Mingus Union High School, but not the case every time. You talk about the assistant coach. Obviously, your husband is one of the assistant coaches, but you two are not the only coaches. Who else is on the rest of the staff, and how do you guys kind of work together?
Correct. We have a phenomenal coaching staff. This summer, we have Coach Susanna Ventura is working with the team. This is her 2nd season with the Clippers. She's a Mingus alum, and I think she also swam Clippers, which is really fun to see these coaches who have been a part of the program as an athlete and now are giving back to the program. Katie Williams, who has been another Mingus alum, been with the Clippers. She's actually been the longest coach with the Clippers team. She works with our younger kids. And then this summer we have Charlie Green, who just graduated from Mingus and is coming on as a coach again with some of our younger swimmers. And then John and myself. So we've got a great coaching team. We've got some volunteer coaches who come out and help, especially with our littles. We have quite a large group of littles, so we need a few more hands and eyes on those younger squads. But great, phenomenal coaching staff. Work extremely well together. You know, we have a united just vision and united spirit about the sport. So it makes collaboration just awesome. And I feel like we're just all seamless. You know, I think about practice even this morning. Coach Ventura and she coaches a different group. We just kind of trade when there's a different skill that we want to be working on. So it's an awesome environment to coach in for sure.
Well, you talked a little bit about it, but I do want to ask about the turnout. Obviously, 2020 was a lost season, but coming back here, 2019 was a good year in terms of numbers. How was it here in 2021?
We are at record numbers this year. So we have 175 swimmers on our roster. And I think that we actually had to shut down registration and have a wait list because there's only so much space in a pool. And so, I mean, it's a great problem to have, but my hope is that we'll continue to see this kind of excitement and growth and maybe need some more pool time on it to be able to get all the kids in that want to be a part of the program. So yeah, we've blasted through every record we've had as far as numbers are concerned.
Well, that's great to hear. It's good to know that a lot of kids are getting excited about going back in the pool. Like I mentioned last year, they weren't able to do it. So this year they kind of get to do it this year. And of course, learning how to swim is not only a good thing to have in life, but is great exercise. It's something you can do forever. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little later. But this week, the season officially kicked off for the Clippers. I know that there's still some other things that are going to be going on, obviously, but the season did kick off this week. But Gretchen, how was the first practice of the year?
Yeah, so yesterday was a very busy day. It was our first practice, and you know what? It was incredible, actually. When I got home last night, thoroughly exhausted from 3 different practice times, my husband and I were just chatting about we just didn't know what to expect about it. It's kind of like in the world of education, trying to figure out like how much learning was actually lost. And to be honest with you, I mean, kids came in, their heart made up for any ability. They were just ready to go, willing to try. And so it was phenomenal. Just again, incredible numbers. And something that was really striking for me was just getting to see kids' smiles again. You know, for quite a while, we haven't seen their faces. is. And so just to see, I think about our morning practice, which we've had 2 now, to see 60 teenagers smiling at 6 o'clock in the morning is pretty inspiring. And it's right. It feels like a pretty awesome accomplishment. So just excited about how the season's kicked off and how excited the families are as well. The Clippers is very much a family-oriented sport. You see a lot of parents and guardians and grandparents and siblings out on deck watching practice and being happy to be there.
Again, we are speaking with Cottonwood Clippers Swim Team head coach Gretchen Wesbrock. Coach Westbrock also coaches the swim team at the high school level at Mingus Union High School. The Cottonwood Clippers are a club swim team in the Verde Valley. If you're interested or want any more information about them, we highly suggest checking out the Cottonwood Clippers Facebook page. You'll get all the updates there if you're curious. If you want to be, can people be added onto that wait list you talked about, Gretchen? I know this is stuff we should say for the end, but I'm just kind of curious.
Sure. I'd say absolutely. And if they reach out, then we can also get information to them early about next season. So if they're not able to get in this season, certainly get in early next season. We might also be looking at maybe some workshops kind of things. I mean, the city of Cottonwood offers swim lessons, which are phenomenal. But for swimmers who maybe are ready for something a little bit more advanced, maybe doing some workshops this summer. So we'll see how that pans out, but that'll all be on our Facebook page.
Now, of course, a wide variety of age groups for the Cottonwood Clippers. You, of course, most of your expertise does lie in youth and also more recently, I guess I should say, at the high school level, since you coach at the high school. But I want to ask, what is your approach when you are coaching those little kids? I mean, we talked about it a little bit. The Cottonwood Clippers are more of a developmental thing. It's about kind of learning how to competitively swim or just learn how to swim in general and learn how to maybe swim a little bit faster. Whereas maybe the high school kids, the older kids, you're kind of, doing a bit more of the extreme stuff and a bit more of technique and whatnot. But how do you approach each age group when you're coaching?
We certainly have a really comprehensive approach to it. So we have a plan for every ability level and age level. And I'm quite the planner. So I usually have, especially in high school season, my whole season is pretty planned out because you know when you want them to be prepared at what time for what stage of competition you're in. For our little kids, so to be a part of the Cottonwood Clippers, they have to have some basic swim skills. So, swim lessons for some swimmers, they still need to be in swim lessons. And then once they're ready and can basically swim a lap unassisted, although we have a few of those littles who they've got to work on their stamina in the water. You kids can run around all day. You put them in the water, it's the great equalizer, and they have to build some of that endurance for sure. So, with our little kids, it's about some of the basics and getting those strokes done right. So, we're starting with freestyle, making sure that they're doing it correctly, that they're breathing, their kick, their timing, all of that's correct. And we build from there. So, usually the progression is from freestyle to backstroke to breaststroke and very last butterfly, because butterfly takes a lot of strength and coordination. So when I think about our littles, it's like if we get this season and they look good and sharp in freestyle and backstroke, we've accomplished something. Whereas our older kids, man, they've got all 4 strokes down, and we're starting to really do stroke refinement and get some speed going on. But the thing I love about the sport of swim is just that it's all about self-improvement. I mean, people get excited about winning, certainly. I mean, that's fun. But it really is about where did you start and where did you finish? And did you get better? Do you feel better? Are you more confident? And I love it because you come out to a swim meet, usually the kids that are getting the most crowd participation as far as cheering are your slowest kids, because people are just super excited to see them doing it and making it from one end to the other. So yeah, we definitely have a comprehensive plan for sure. For all of our age groups.
And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is kind of like one of the club programs that I'm a big fan of because I did play club baseball and it had an atmosphere of we need to win every game and there wasn't a whole lot of developmental. But with this, it is a lot more of that developmental, as you talked about, Gretchen, just getting these kids better with their technique, giving them more confidence just being in the water, even if they don't swim at the middle school or high school level, whatever. If this is just the one time they're there, at least they took something away. But I want to talk a little bit about just sort of year-round swimming. Obviously, here in the Verde Valley or in northern Arizona in general, finding a pool is a little difficult. There aren't too many people who have pools in their backyards for whatever reason. I don't have a pool at my house, mainly because I live in a condominium and there's no room. But it's a little different than playing club softball or baseball, where there are a lot of club teams. There's a lot of baseball fields out. You don't need water for a baseball field, and if there is water, that's usually a problem. So where with swimming, that constant repetitive, you talked about just that constant swimming, you're in and out of the water. It's a little difficult for kids to have that full year round swimming experience. And even at the high school level too, kids play multiple sports. They don't do swimming all year round. So what are some more challenges that you guys face as a club swim program? And what are some possible solutions or maybe some tips that you can give some of the kids or high school kids or even parents who might be listening who want to make sure that their kid gets that repetition and that work when they don't necessarily have the equipment or the facilities to help aid them in that?
Yeah, swim is definitely a more difficult sport because it does require water, and pools are not cheap. So to maintain, especially competitive pools. And so, we're really fortunate up here with the Cottonwood Rec Center. And I think about our high school age students, and, they are in the water about 6 months if they do the Clippers into the high school season. So They've got about a half a year. I think for anybody, it's like staying active in general is the key. And so we have a lot of swimmers that are multi-sport athletes. Or, we have a few who even at the high school level, maybe they're playing volleyball, that conflicts with swim, but they'll still train in the summer because it's great cross training. And like you had shared earlier, it's a sport you can do forever. So, I would say to any of my swimmers is just to stay active, whether that's doing another sport. We have a lot of swimmers who will end up doing track and running helps swim and swim helps running. So they're mutually beneficial for sure. I know I've got families that will still go to the rec center indoor pool. It's only a couple lanes and they're shorter than 25 yards, but anything is better than nothing when it comes to that. And I feel like in our region, especially, there are not a lot of year-round programs. So we're pretty equal competitors, and we've seen that in the high school team. We're competitive against teams and kids who do train year-round. So I'm really proud of our young people for that, because they work hard in the time that they're in the water. And that's really what's about, because you can train year-round and only give it a little bit at 50%. You train hard for the time you're in there, you're going to see some great results.
What is the J.R. Pooler Legacy Scholarship, and how can people get involved with that?
Well, it's a special scholarship to me personally, because J.R. was my dad, and he was a part of. He was a part of Arizona swimming for many, many years. Very, very influential in the world of officiating swimming in the state of Arizona, and he also was involved at the national level. So my brother and I, who both were swimmers, and we joke that my dad went further in swim than we ever did. He officiated at the Olympic trials multiple times, and so he. When he moved to the Verde Valley, he just jumped right in with the Clippers and with Mingus. And, he was like our equipment manager extraordinaire, helped run all of our equipment, and was just this constant for the kids. JR was always at the pool. He opened up that pool and he closed that pool for every Clippers practice, every Mingus practice. He passed away in February of 2019. And when that happened, we had a lot of swimmers, who were either had just finished their season or were mid-cycle in their high school, and the Clippers board in particular felt really strongly that they wanted to establish a memorial scholarship in his honor. So it was established that very year. And now we've had, 19, 20, 21. So 3 rounds of scholarship recipients. And there are criteria where they have to be involved in Clippers and Mingus in order to receive that scholarship. So really special. The Clippers is a nonprofit organization. So part of their goal is to be able to give back in different ways. So this scholarship was a natural fit for them to be able to do that with some of our graduating seniors. So super special, very special to our family that we get to see that happen each year. He absolutely loved the sport of swimming and absolutely loved athletes and what it did for them because of what it did for our family.
And how funny that your maiden name is Pooler, and you're a swim. Yeah. It's really fitting. If you want to talk about fate, then that's a great example right there. I'm sorry.
We had no choice but to be water athletes.
If you were the golf coach, I think it would have been a huge mistake if you were coaching like golf or softball or something else, especially with the maiden name Pooler. But we do call her Coach Westbrock here, Cottonwood Clippers Swim Team head coach Gretchen Wesbrock. Coach, before we let you go, what's coming up for the Clippers? What meets are coming up? I know the meet in Sedona was canceled, but what is coming up for the team in the coming weeks?
Yeah, we have so it is a little bit different season. I mean, the exciting part is we're able to practice in a normal fashion, but we have our first inter squad meet, which is our traditional jelly bean meet. So that'll be a week from this Thursday, and we're no small team. So I kind of chuckle that our inter squad meet is going to feel like a big meet because 175 swimmers in the water is no small group for sure. So that's our first meet. It'll be again inter squad swimmers being able to compete against their teammates. And then we've got 2 meets that are planned. We'll be traveling to Bullhead City later in the month of June to just do a dual meet with Bullhead. And then we'll be going back to Bullhead later in the month of July for an end of season. We've got some smaller competitions just with our team. So we've got some fun little additional inter squad meets planned throughout our season here. We've got our mile swim fundraiser that'll be happening in July. So some of you out there, I'm sure, are going to have a swimmer ask you to sponsor them in the mile swim, which is 66 laps continuous. So which for, a high school student should be no problem, but you come watch a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old swim 66 laps in a row and you are impressed. So yeah, I feel like our board has done an awesome job of putting together still a very robust season despite the circumstances.
66 laps in a pool. I can barely do 15 minutes on the elliptical after my workouts. But Coach Gretchen Wesbrock of the Cottonwood Clippers Swim Team, thank you very much for coming on the show, Coach. As usual, if you want to know anything about this swim club, be a part of it, donate, volunteer, whatever, go to the Cottonwood Clippers Swim Team Facebook page. All of the information is there, and you can get involved. Coach, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
That's going to do it for this episode of Off the Bench. I'd like to thank my guests, of course, Coach Gretchen Wesbrock, Payson golf coach Miguel Galindo, and Minnesota MASH pitching coach Tony Vocca for coming on the show this week to talk about all their respective sports and all the clubs and all the things that are going on in their lives. But Coach Wesbrock, thank you, and everybody for coming on. I'd like to thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you next time right here on Off the Bench.